Happy Sunday, friends. First day of deer season. No, it's not, dumbass Jeff. Happy Sunday, friends. Second day of deer season here in Missouri. It is windy outside. You won't find me in the woods today. Instead, you're going to find me right here talking about USDA Choice American beef. Black Angus. It's what I grew up raising. It's good stuff. If you can't have Wagyu, this is the way to go. So now what? Gloves. Why do I wear gloves in my home? I don't like icky hands. My wife kind of got me started with that. No, seriously. I wore these when I catered. I wore these when I did barbecue contests. I wore these when I vended barbecue. They keep my hands clean. Plus, they don't transfer my germs to you. Now, washing your hands frequently does just as good a job, if not better. The worst thing you can do, and you've all seen it, go to a drive-thru restaurant. You see the person wearing the gloves, they have the mask on, they have all the PPE stuff. If they take your credit card with these gloves on, and then they go touch your food, the gloves don't do any good. So, be smart about the gloves. Anyway, I'm gonna open this bad boy up. I'll be right back. So what are we gonna do with this beef? We're gonna cut it. Why are we gonna cut it ourselves? Because if you go to the grocery store, if you go to the butcher, you're paying a lot of money to get something you can do yourselves. This big chunk of sirloin tip was $2.78 a pound. You'll pay more than that for stew meat. I'm gonna show you how to break it down, get it into something usable. You can throw it in the freezer. It's cheaper than hamburger. Actually, I will grind it. I won't show you that, but I will grind it. I'll probably add a big chunk of beef tallow off of a brisket later because sirloin is pretty lean and you want a burger about 80-20. Anyway, what are we going to start with? The tools. Most important tool you can have in your arsenal. Wusthof Classic boning knife. Don't buy cheap knives. Don't put knives in a dishwasher. Keep your knives sharp. A razor sharp knife is safer than a dull one. $2.78 a pound for this big chunk of meat. And what am I going to do with it? I'll show you. This was $36, more or less. I will get an easy 6-8 meals out of it. I'm going to grind some up for hamburger. I'm going to add a big chunk of beef tallow to it. By beef tallow, I mean that hard piece of clean white fat that's on a brisket. This is really lean. If you fry it like this, it's going to be dry. But it's perfect to cut into strips for stroganoff. It's not the best for stew. Chuck roast cut up is better for stew. Stew meat is fine, but stew meat, I'm gonna tell you a secret, is just the crap they can't find something else to do with. So they call it stew meat. Stay away from the stew meat, make your own. Anyway, here we are. We got the great knife again. So I'm gonna cut a little bit, I'm gonna trim. Let's take this off, turn this over actually. I'm gonna cut along here. Big hunk of sinewy fat. I don't wanna eat it, why would you? So I was raised in a fairly frugal German farm family, which means I'm going to save every little strip of meat I can get off this thing. What I'm cutting off now is called silver skin. It's gross. You don't want it. Throw it away. Over here, just more stuff. Get rid of it. So right down the center, you see a big piece of, I don't know, membrane. We're going to get rid of that, but I'm going to show you how. I'm going to split this. If I can, we're going to take our thumb, run along under it, find out where the thing is, cut it back out of there, get rid of it too. So through the magic of modern editing, we've advanced a little bit. Not much though. I decided I'd show you all of it, and you can fast forward yourself if you want to. So I'm cutting down along the center of this sirloin tip, which brings up a statement, or a question actually, that was asked by my blushing bride. Where does it come from? Well, if I were a cow, and I hope this shows up on camera, I'd be eating like this. It's right back here. That's where the sirloin comes from. You know, brisket, chuck, sirloin, rump, like that. So, now what am I doing? Well, you can see I've split this guy. I'm cleaning up the junk out of the inside. I have a nice piece right here. It's not exceptionally tender. I'm going to clean it up right away. I'll clean it up now. You can watch me do it. It's pretty quick. We're just going to take the big sinewy fatty chunks out of it. Like that. I'm cutting towards my fingers. Don't do that. Although sometimes I do it anyway. Old habits die hard. To where you can see it. So you see that silver skin? I'm gonna go under it, get rid of it, come back along here. I don't have it all. I have most of it. Still cutting towards my fingers. I do it all the time. Be careful. Okay, so I've cut off the bottom piece. What do I have? I have a nice piece of meat that I'm probably going to strip up for stir fry. I may do stroganoff out of it, something like that. But I promise you, it will show up in a future video. I'll cook it into something delicious. I'll show you. But before you can cook it into something delicious, you got to start with something good. If you want to control what you're feeding your family, what you're feeding yourself, if you like to know, what are you eating? Maybe take the time on a Sunday, like we are, instead of having that quote-unquote me time just sitting on your butt. I bet you feel better if you do something like this, and I know your family will appreciate it. See? Still a line right there. Kind of following where this thing's going to split. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Right here, there's a little line. We're going to take this piece, we're going to cut it into steaks. Be great. This piece over here, you can tell on the bottom, it's just got things going in different directions. We're probably going to take this piece and strip it up for, again, stir fry? Stroganoff? I don't know. So I've split these two big pieces, right? There's one. You can see he's got a line running through here. Some lines running in different directions. It's going to be a little tougher. This guy, I don't know if you've ever eaten picanha, sirloin cap, culotte steak. Anyway, that's what this is. It's delicious. I'm going to slice it across the grain. Makes a great steak for $2.78 a pound. Come on. So now that we've split these two, again, we have one. If you look at the end of it, nice piece of meat, solid piece of meat. No sinew running through it. We have the other one, not as great, but again, we're just going to cut it in strips, grind it, whatever you guys use more of. So we're going to throw that over there. You know how to cut it in chunks. So now we have this. What are we going to do? We're going to look for the grain, very first thing we're going to do. See that? See those lines running that way? That's the way our grain runs. So we're going to cut across the grain this way. Why? It eats better, it chews better, it comes apart in your mouth. So what do we do? What do? I do this. I just start cutting. And that's a little piece. That's going to go into the grind pile. Now, how far apart? I like my steak about that thick, more or less. So I'm going to cut that off. Come back here, I'm going to keep doing that. You could cook this piece of meat whole if you chose to. I don't like to because I'm going to show you a little trick here in a minute with something called a Jacquard Tenderizer. It's going to make these steaks delightful. These are going to be something you're going to want to serve medium rare. This does not make a good well-done steak. I got to say, is there such thing as a good well-done steak? No, there's not. And why waste a choice piece of meat on a well-done steak, especially a prime piece of meat? If you've ever read or watched any Anthony Bourdain stuff, he had his issues, but the dude did know cooking. He will tell you that when you order a well-done steak in a restaurant, the cooks love you for it. The chefs love you for it. Why is that, you ask? Because they get to get rid of the bad piece of steak. They take the one that's full of gristle that they really wouldn't want to eat. They cremate that thing for you because you don't know the difference. So what is this thing? Jacquard Tenderizer, like 19 bucks at Amazon. What am I going to do with it, you ask? Watch. I'm going to take these steaks, lay them out like that, and I'm just going to poke the crap out of them. Did he say poke the crap out of them? Yes, he did. What's he doing? Let me show you. See all those little knives? See them? They're going through there, cutting any fibers that are in the thing, any sinew, whatever. We still want to start with the better piece, but now you have a tender, delicious piece. delicious and tender don't necessarily go hand in hand on a steak, right? If you get yourself a beautiful filet, it's tender, no question. Probably tastes more like what you season it with though than what it's made of, where it comes from on the animal. Or to quote my mother, whee, it's hot in here. Anyway, sorry about that. So what is this piece? This is one of those first pieces we cut off the bottom. Not the most tender piece, so what am I doing? I'm cutting this in some really big strips because that's what goes in my grinder. I have a freestanding grinder. You may have one on your KitchenAid. You may not have one. If you don't have one, cut it in small strips. Use it for, again, back to stir fry, fajitas, whatever. So, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to go with thinner pieces, kind of cut across the grain on the bias. I'm going to do this to this whole piece. All right, why am I doing that? Because this stuff, marinated, will be delicious. And now you can see I made a mistake. See this piece right here? This piece right here? Needs to come off. My dog loves it. That's where it went. I didn't just throw it in the house. Cut that big piece of meat now into strips, right? You can see that's what I was doing when I left. So now I've got a bunch of strips. They look like that. Not real thick, but you don't want it real thick. This stuff, it's not the most tender, right? It's not the best to use in a big chunk. You want it kind of small for those, again, stroganoff, stir fry, fajitas, whatever. So what am I doing with it now? I am taking those big, long, thin slabs that I made, and I'm cutting them into things like that. Things that with a nice long braising process, they're going to turn nice and tender. They're going to break down. So what am I trying to get across here? I'm trying to get across that you don't have to buy $12 a pound meat to eat well. A little bit of time. What's it taking me? I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to do this. $2.70 something a pound, 2 pounds worth of scrap, which was sinew, fat, gristle, like that. Probably brings my average price up to just under $3. What are you going to get for $3 a pound at your local grocery store? Do you know where it came from? Do you know who cut it? Do you know if they kept it cold? Did they keep it clean? Did they pick their nose while they were grinding meat? You don't know. God, I hope not, but again, you don't know. So here, a bunch of steaks. I didn't count them, but there's probably 7 or 8 steaks there. Pile of meat that's going to be ground up for hamburger. All these strips that I'm going to package up into, well, I'm not, Martha will. Going to package up into probably 4 meals, right? Put them in some Ziploc bags, toss them in the freezer. You can eat well, you don't have to eat expensive. It takes a little bit of time, but not much.